So how many of you all exclusively use Mac computers and you don't use Microsoft Windows? So this particular topic is relevant to all of you. So today is mostly about the upcoming Windows 10. You may have heard about it. But first I need to go ahead and talk a little bit about the previous versions of Microsoft Windows, starting with Windows XP. So if you remember Windows XP, people had really good feedback on Windows XP. People liked it. People loved it. So then Windows Vista came right after Windows XP, and everybody hated it. And I'll circle back around to Windows Vista here in a moment. But Windows Vista, they created it from scratch, so it was basically a way to test their upcoming Windows 7 to the market. So they released Windows Vista as a test version of Windows 7. Windows 7, I thought, is the operating system they got right, because they had many improvements over anything that they've ever done before. It increased the performance and the speed of how just everything worked together, Windows 7. But you might also know that there was no upgrade from Windows XP to Windows 7. So you had to get Windows Vista first, which was fairly expensive. And I'm assuming Microsoft did that on purpose, because you couldn't go from Windows XP straight to Windows 7. You had to go in the middle. So what people would rather do was to wipe out or refresh their computer with Windows 7 and just take everything else off, instead of going through Windows Vista first. Now that brings me to Windows 8 right after Windows 7. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? 7 to 8, doesn't that make sense? I think so. Then you have Windows 8.1, which was added on to Windows 8. So again, they wanted to test the market. But they didn't do a very good job with Windows 8, as you know, because you have, well, let me just show you. This here is Windows 8. One of the big problems that people are having with Windows 8, yeah, I'll leave it. Okay. Thank you. Is, of course, the start menu, because it takes up the entire screen for one, but two, if you don't know what you're doing, the computer will start up automatically to the start menu, and you don't know where to go from there. So you have to go look for desktop, and then it takes you there. But if you go and actually there's a setting in here that you have to check, because it's not checked by default, to where you'll show your desktop background on start. So this is just one of the main problems with it. And of course you have these stupid apps. So when Windows 8 came out, before 8.1, there was no X. There was no X. So you had to actually drag it down to close the app. But another big problem with it is it took up the entire screen. So you can't do anything else with it. It's not built inside of a window. So you had to do that and close it out. Now, it's about time for Windows 10 to come out. And it's supposed to be pretty amazing. And people say that every other version of Windows is good and decent. And I found that to be the case. But why did they jump and skip Windows 9? Well, it's Microsoft. Enough said. So what I have here is the preview version. Anybody can download it. I don't have exclusive rights to it. Anybody can download it. But this here is the new start menu, new and improved. So they blended Windows 8 with Windows 7 start menu. You could resize it as you see fit. I haven't gotten into all the settings and configurations of Windows 10, but there's some new features in here, like you remember Siri with the Apple iPhone. Well, Microsoft has come out with one now. I've got actually two articles up here pulled up. This article here on the left is talking about some of the features you get with it. And then over here to the right is some of the things you need to know about it. 5 things. So I'm going to skip down to the name of it. Yeah, Cortana. I'm sorry if I'm even saying that right, Cortana. But that's what you have here. It welcomes you, and you could actually use voice to activate certain features. So that's neat. When I first downloaded Windows 10 to try it out about 2 or 3 months ago, this feature wasn't in there. There's also another feature called Spartan. It's a web browser, actually, that's supposed to make life easier. Supposed to, mind you. But it's supposed to be more intuitive. And again, there's many features available for that, but Internet Explorer is still available in Windows 10. But just like anything, you can just do your search from your start menu, and it just pulls up. It's very neat. And if you're wondering, I'm using VirtualBox software. It's free, and it's a virtual machine software, so it acts like its own computer, and then you can put Windows on there. There are a lot of neat features. If you're interested in some of these resources, you can ask me later, or just go online and search for Windows 10 features. The date of arrival I have seen to be July 29th, but I would recommend, like, whether or not you should upgrade is entirely up to you. But if you're in a business, for example, and you really need your computer, then I would just wait for a while and not really jump. You don't have to jump on the bandwagon, or you don't have to be an early adopter, is what they call, to grab the software when it first comes out. There's going to be bugs, of course. If you do plan on upgrading to Windows 10, then especially at the beginning, go ahead and create a backup of everything and just save everything that's important to you first, because there will certainly be bugs that they need to work out with Microsoft Windows 10. But it's supposed to be amazing, and if you haven't jumped on Windows 8, then you will probably want to go to Windows 10 eventually, because like anything, Windows 7 will be phased out, as well as Windows XP was phased out 2014. So it usually takes them many years to be able to phase out software, but it will go to that. So just keep that in mind. Are there any questions? Yes, Steve.
What is the price of Windows 10 to go from Windows 8 to Windows 10 as well?
There are several different versions of Windows 10, so it really can range, and I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
It'll probably be a couple $100s, but there's a seat available where you can get it free as an upgrade, and we could look at that. Yes.
If you have a licensed copy of Windows 7 or Windows 8.1, the upgrade to 10 is free. If you have Windows 8, not 8.1, but 8, then you're either going to have to go to 8.1 or you're going to have to buy Windows 10 for the upgrade.
Okay, and to upgrade from Windows 8 to 8.1 is free, and it's only under certain versions, like the Pro.
Cody, why would you want to run a virtual machine?
So that you don't mess up your active practical machine. If you're in business, especially if you have a virtual machine, you can do anything. You could actually add viruses to that virtual machine if you wanted to test it out, and it won't harm your actual machine.
So it's like it sets up its own partition?
Yeah, it's basically a file. The hard drive itself is a file that it creates for you. And the way the virtual machine technology works is kind of interesting. And plus you can save your state of the machine. Because I can close out this machine and it'll say save the machine state, so when I start back up it just automatically is right there again.
Cool.
Any other questions? That's it for my speech. You're all